Scores of families in KwaZulu-Natal lost loved ones as well as their belongings in last week's flooding. They have been moved to temporary shelters, but calls are growing for permanent solutions. Today, the Minister of Human Settlement, Thembi Simelane, will interact with flood victims for the very first time. Newzroom Afrika's Nqobile Madlala is in Durban and joins us now. Do we know, Nqobile, if the meeting has gotten underway just yet?
Well, Vio, from what we know at this very point is that the MEC of Human Settlement and Transports, that is Siboniso Duma, has of course arrived here. He had a chat with the media just before going to meet with the Minister Thembi Simelane, whom we understand at this very point are currently sitting in a briefing. We are knowing that with them both being on the table is that also they need to speak to the city. You will understand that the city that is hardest hit is eThekwini municipality, which is why then the councillor is the city mayor is also part of that conversation. Now, this comes, of course, after the floods that have taken place in the city, not only this year, but a couple of years back as well. There are various victims that have been affected. And since then, the city's been looking at the amount of land that they have so that they're able to give these victims some dignity and really some permanent structures. Now, most of that has been an issue. According to the MEC, he says that the city no longer has land within the sort of the center areas. And so they've been looking in various parts of the city and from that pockets of land where they can be able to get these permanent structures. Now, one of those places that they are going to be looking at is Georgedale, which we understand is a bit further away from the city, more on the outer west of the city, which is about 45 minutes, about over 50 kilometers from where we are. And this is where they are going to see the land that could potentially be a place where they will get these permanent structures. Now, we know that the city has already said that they are going to use whatever land that they have. Part of that is the Shallcross land, which we have seen also having some reaction from the people in Shallcross who felt that the city had not engaged with them and brought in these ideas without actually also looking into service delivery. Some of them have spoken about the infrastructure that is broken over time, saying that this will only exacerbate the problems that they are currently faced with. Now, of course, that is part of the conversation between the minister, the MEC, as well as the mayor, looking at how they're going to engage with some of the communities. We have heard from the MEC already, who has highlighted that that cannot happen. He says that there are issues with regards to some of the relations with the communities. Some communities do not want these flood victims per se. And he's saying that that cannot happen, even going as far as alluding to the fact that there are going to be engagements, but they will continue to build where they said they will build, especially because there's not enough land. So what we know as the human settlement is that Thembi Simelane, who is the minister, can look at what can they use. So that land as part of the infrastructure as well that falls under the human settlement is what they're going to be engaged in, looking at where they can go going forward to ensure that some of these 200 people that are currently homeless do have a home to go to. We know at this point that they're in temporal structures, and some of them also have taken to areas like the hotel, the lodges, so that they actually have shelter. Now, we know that she's going to do a walkabout there where she's going to look at just where they are housed, if it's in a good condition, and how long they can be housed there. So these are some of the conversations that are taking place behind us in that briefing between the MEC as well as the minister. So very important meeting indeed.
Nqobile Madlala, keeping an eye on that meeting between Thembi Simelane, the Human Settlements Minister, as well as the MEC of Human Settlements in KwaZulu-Natal, together, of course, with eThekwini Mayor Cyril Nqobile, to bring us more as soon as they come out of that meeting and get to brief the media that is camped outside.